Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something pretty fascinating. It's all about global cooperation in, well, really advanced technology. Our focus is the Global Combat Air Program, GCAP for short. And we're looking at a very recent official joint statement that just came out. So, our mission really is to cut through some of that formal language, give you the main takeaways, and sort of unpack what this really means for, international defense and industry going forward. Okay, let's try and unpack this then. We're diving into a pretty crucial announcement. It came out of a virtual meeting, July 7th, 2025. And this involved the top defense people from Italy, Japan, and the UK. And it's not just about the military hardware, the planes themselves. It's really this interesting intersection of international relations, high-tech engineering, strategic alliances. So you're about to get the distilled essence of what was announced without having to wade through all the official stuff yourself. So July 7th, 2025, this high-level virtual chat happens. You've got Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto, Japanese Defense Minister Nakatani Jen, and the UK Secretary of State for Defense John Healey, all on this call. Now, this wasn't just any meeting, right? It feels like it signals something more significant. For you watching this space, what's really the significance for these three specific nations getting together on GCCAP like this?
That's a great way to put it, because it really is more than just ticking a box on a meeting. For each of them, aligning so closely on GCAP, it's a major strategic move. For the UK, you could say it's about cementing, a leadership role in next-gen aerospace, especially post-Brexit. For Italy, it shores up their position as a key European defense player, someone with really high-end capabilities. And Japan, well, for Japan, it's a huge step. It's about developing their own advanced defense tech and maybe diversifying their security partnerships beyond just traditional allies. It really shows they all understand that building this kind of cutting-edge system, well, it's just too complex, too expensive for one country anymore. And it maybe gives them a path that's more resilient instead of only relying on existing alliances for all their advanced stuff.
That's a really good point, that idea of sort of strategic autonomy that comes with this partnership. Okay, so they've had the foundational meeting. The next big step, usually for something this huge, is putting the team together to actually build the thing. And that's where it gets, well, really interesting. There was that announcement back on June 20th, the official launch of this joint venture called Edgewing. And this isn't small players. It brings together aerospace giants, BAE Systems from the UK, Leonardo from Italy, and Japan, Aircraft Industrial Enhancement Co., LTD from Japan.
Exactly. Yeah, Edgewing. A joint venture like that is absolutely critical for these massive high-tech programs like GCKP.
Yeah.
It's the mechanism, really. It lets them pool incredible resources, financial resources, expertise, and maybe most importantly, it means they share the huge development costs and, the risks involved. Because when you talk about a next-gen combat air system, I mean, we're talking about serious tech, advanced stealth, AI in the mission systems, working seamlessly with drones. But, historically, these big multinational projects, they can hit snags, right? Competing national interests, different ideas about design.
Yeah, you hear about that.
So the very fact that these three industrial heavyweights have actually formally launched this JV, Edgewing, well, that's a pretty powerful signal. It shows they're serious about making it work, about overcoming those potential hurdles.
That's a great point about those historical challenges, actually getting these big companies to not just agree, but to form a dedicated entity like Edgewing. Yeah, that speaks volumes. Okay, so they've got the industrial side lining up with Edgewing. But for a project this complex, collaboration isn't just about the companies, right? You need a place, like a physical space, for the governments and industry to really work closely together. And that seems to be exactly what the next bit of news was about, this new headquarters opening up in Reading.
Right. And this dedicated international HQ, like you said, it's not just a building. It's really a physical symbol of their commitment.
Yeah.
It's designed specifically to encourage that direct, integrated collaboration. And what's key is who is going to be there. You've got the GSAC International Government Organization.
Yeah.
The GIGO, they call it. That's basically the government body overseeing the whole thing.
Okay, GIGO.
And Edgewing, the industrial JV that's actually doing the development and delivery. So the idea is they work, hand in glove, right there, under a streamlined structure, all designed to speed up decision-making, which, believe me, is vital for these complex defense projects. Every delay costs.
So GIGO is sort of the government oversight, setting the direction, and Edgewing is the engine, building the tech, all under one roof. That does sound efficient. Okay, and then the final piece. The statement really hammered home the strong personal commitment from all three ministers. They specifically said they're accelerating all the work needed to get that first international contract signed between GIGO and Edgewing, and they want it done by the end of this year, 2025. They also talked about deepening their cooperation across the board for GCAP.
Yeah, that timeline is, well, it's ambitious.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you if you're watching this?
Yeah.
Pushing for that first big contract by the end of 2025, it really signals urgency, doesn't it? It puts a concrete deadline on moving from, just strategic talk to actual tangible action. It shows they're serious about not just talking, but actually delivering. And they plan to do it by, as they said, deepening that cooperation between these three key players. You could see it as a collective step towards maybe more strategic autonomy, like we mentioned, a more distributed power balance when it comes to advanced military tech. Not just relying on the usual established players or single supply chains. This isn't just building a fighter jet. It feels like these three nations are trying to build a new pillar in the global defense structure.
So, putting it all together, you should now have a really solid grasp of these latest critical moves in the Global Combat Air Program. You know the key players, Italy, Japan, the UK. You see the concrete steps they're taking, forming that industrial joint venture, Edgewing, setting up the combined HQ in Reading, and that very ambitious goal, get that initial international contract locked down by the end of 2025. This kind of international collaboration, well, it's more than just news, isn't it? It's almost like a blueprint for how these huge high-stakes projects get done on the world stage now.
Exactly. And building on that point about deepening cooperation and accelerating work, it does leave you with an interesting thought to consider. Think beyond just this first contract, beyond the headquarters, what might be the long-term implications, even non-military ones, of such deep international teamwork in really advanced tech. How could this specific model influence other areas? Global innovation, maybe. Other kinds of partnerships in the next decade, perhaps entirely outside of defense.
That is a great question to mull over, something for you to reflect on and maybe keep exploring. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.